G'day, 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 ladies and gentlemen, and all those in between. Welcome back to another episode of Inside the Mind, where as a Chapter 1, Season 1 veteran, I'll be bringing you guys the latest and greatest tips, tricks, strategies, and more to winning not only more games, but more crowns in Fortnite Chapter 6. So guys, as always, if you're keen to see us here, hopefully run it back here for the crown, potentially, make sure you guys do hit that like button. Hit that subscribe button and use creator code SurelyItsButter the next time you're in the item shop. Alright, we're going to be trying out Bugswatter Beach here, another drop strategy, another location, bit of a review I guess if you will. I figure we might as well give it a shot. You know, we are going to slowly be making our way down to Dreamy Domain either in this episode or maybe even another episode for another drop strategy I would say, so definitely quite excited for that. In terms of loot, in terms of first impressions of Bugswatter Beach, look, so far it's okay. I think it's going to be, you know, quite a hit and miss at times when you're going for these new locations, especially considering, you know, you don't know where the chest spawns are, right? Most people probably won't know, you know, where are the best places to go, you know, in what order as well. And, you know, these sorts of, the way that you go around, right, these locations. And I think as the season progresses, everyone is going to get a more clearer idea about, you know, what is the best way to go about that flow of the game. So very, very excited to see and, you know, truly understand the new flow of the game. So guys, for those of you who do not know what we mean by flow of the game, there's actually someone over there. But what we're sort of talking about here, right, is the order of which you go for the objectives, right? So every season there's going to be a designated flow, if you will. You know, I'll go for the medallions first, then I go for the vaults, then I go for A, B, and C. I'll rotate to the fuel station in the center of the map. You know, it is things like this and more which really sort of add up to a whole thing, right? So I definitely do recommend trying to understand that flow of the game. And we're going to have actually max stacked Mira's extra spicy ramen here. So we'll get up that bit of movement speed here. We've got a car over to the distance. What I'm going to do is, I'm going to not go for the sword. I think the sword is a fine item. I believe it does do a sizable amount of damage, but for my playstyle, not really a huge fan of it. Alright, we will be taking this car, however, trying to close this gap on these players, and I think trying to get up and amongst the action as well as early as possible in these games is going to be key, right? You want to be trying to remove as many of these players as much as possible. Alright, remove those third-party abilities from your late game simply by getting as many kills as you can at the start of it. So now when you got a player in a bush like this, you can miss your first shot like me. That's always an option. Look, should we go for the Wrecker? I do hear a lot of players saying that the Wrecker is really, really nice. Look, I have been a diehard Wrecker Revolver player since the very start of this season. I'm trying to get out of the habit, though, of carrying it. I'm trying to get back to my roots, right? I feel like I've been completely... I'm definitely going to grab one of those. I feel like I've been completely fumbling the weapon switching and I think the double pump mechanism of it there, so... And if there is a gun that I do like more in terms of its playoff potential, it's going to be the Fury. That being said, let us switch to the Holo Twister. Now there was another G-Wagon back up the road, if I recall correctly. Additionally, I'm looking for fuel stations. We know there's one up here, right? So we can go and rotate there. We'll get some fuel, we'll get some health for this vehicle, and we'll continue back on out. So I think the Fury is a great gun. It's probably and arguably one of my more favorite guns I've probably ever had the pleasure to use there. So if you guys do not know every gun, of course, or at least the Fury, I can speak confidently with the Fury. It has its own sort of recoil spread, pattern spread. So the bullet spread on it is very, very easy to counter. It's basically pull down to the, you know, pull your cursor down, bit to the left, bit to the right, down, right, and you can sort of just spray at a rock or a wall and you can see that sort of pattern, the bullet spread of it, and then you can basically counter that. And once you do get used to it, the DPS from that high fire rate, whilst it might not have the highest damage or the greatest sort of accuracy, if you are able to control it, you're going to get some incredible DPS on players there. And I believe, so long as that they are not like an exceptional player with a high damage sort of headshot multiplier gun, you should 9 times out of 10 be able to get that kill with the Fury. But of course, it will of course depend on the stage of the game as well as many other things. So we've got the fuel station here. We will try and go for about as many sort of refueling pads here as possible, guys. They will compound the amount of time like it takes, so it will be so much more quicker. 2 fueling pads is going to be double as quick as just 1, etc. 3 is of course pretty much instantly. There's a bit of a bug, or at least there was a bug where it was pretty much instant. You just needed to sit on it and then drive out. Now we've got the increased magazine size boon here. What I would really like is some more ammunition. We are very, very low on that AR ammo, so I'm trying to think like, where can we find some ammo? So maybe Harmony Hills. I think going for these drop spots or these areas where a lot of players were landing is going to be a great idea if you guys are looking for some more ammunition. Mostly because, this is where people have landed. So therefore, this is where people have died. This is where people have been looting up and being shot at. And so there is likely going to be a bit more loot. Now, your other sort of option in terms of like, okay, where do I want to find loot butter? Like, where do I go? Right? Is going to be these other POIs where maybe people didn't land at all. Right? You're going to have that opportunity to get all that loot. Now, guys, before I run into this POI, we mark our car on the map. We do not want to run in here. Sort of neglecting that, and I think it's a very, very common mistake I see a lot of players making, is they get a little bit too caught up in the source, right? I feel like a lot of players, myself included at times, will be going into POIs sort of just willy-nilly. They're not going to be paying an awful lot of attention of where their mobility is. And so for that reason, definitely do try and mark it on the map, right? Keep a mental image or a mental note of where these sorts of cars, roly-polies, etc. are going to be. And that way, if something does happen to you whilst you're here, you'll be able to, quickly get in, quickly get out. And I think the time that you take looting up these locations is completely critical, right? Like, you do not want to be taking an awful lot of time. Now, we do have someone over in a car here, as well as a Shockwave Hammer player I have just heard. I'm going to pop the Ramyun here, just for a little bit of speed boost. I'm just going to wait for him to show me which direction he's going towards. We've got the rocket launcher there as well. I'm considering shockwaving over to our car. Alright, so now I'm trying to think, okay, what happens if he stays here for too long? What happens if we have to go up against 2 players? And how can I really get out of the situation, right? Now, there it is. There's the Shockwave Hammer player. I'm going to quickly... we're just going to run over here, I think. Oh. Oh. Oh, it's a Crown player. He shockwaves over, we shockwave as well. Try and match this. Do not let a player jump on top of you guys. You need to be as vigilant as possible when it comes to these sorts of players. Now, he'll be trying to chase us here. He can see and hear our car, so I'm assuming he will have a sight on us. He's probably going to start shooting at us soon. If he's not, okay, so he's been distracted by someone else. This is perfect, right? So what we're going to do is we're going to take advantage of this fight. We want to take advantage of it. We want to try and bring home a little bit of pain here. A couple more cars there. I'll mark those on the map. About 96 damage there. Not a terrible few hits there. He jumps on top with this. We got the zone moving in 42 seconds. 39. We're going to jump on out, right? We want to make our way into that zone. He will likely have just placed that Tiger's teleporting mask as well, just for mind games. I had no sort of expectation he was going to jump on us there. And I think playing with the mind games as well with this Tiger's teleporting mask is another really great way to sort of psych players out, you know, discombobulate them as well, and really draw them into an area. Oh, hello. Jump out into the passengers. Damn it. He went down the hill. Fair enough. I'm going to try and catch him as he rotates down by the river. I tell you what, he very well might prey, but let us see. Just trying to wait and see. Maybe he could be, of course, taking some time. You do not want to be tunnel visioned as well. There he goes. Immediately again, we go for the high ground here. And this is going to be a little bit more of a passive game, but I'm just trying to sort of highlight different ways to handle these types of players, because there are a lot of players like this, right? And so I think that is going to be key. Right, run through the roly-poly there. See if you can disable it. If not, that's okay. And then we're going to see if we can get a shot off on him here. And we're going to try and do consistent damage, right, guys? We don't want to be doing just a lot of damage. I mean, that would be great as well, but so long as we are doing consistent damage, that's all that really matters at the end of the day, right? You want to be trying to dwindle down his shield, his health, all right? You want to be removing as many shields that he's got as well, sort of stored up there. And I think that is a really brilliant way to take advantage of these players who are quite persistent and sweaty, because eventually they're going to run out of shields, right? Eventually they're going to run out of these healing items to the point where if they continue to chase, they'll either have to leave, abandon the chase, or have to completely... Oh, okay. Hide behind the car there. Immediately we jump out. Okily dokily. I'm not too sure which way... what he's trying to do here. I'm thinking I kind of want this high ground again, but I want to bait him out of the car as well. This seems like a player who is quite comfortable with that sort of, with this sort of close range sort of fights, which is fine. But again, it's consistent damage, right, guys? This is the tortoise and the hare scenario. We jump out, we reload, we go back and forth, and we exchange these trades. Right? It's about getting decent trades as well. Sometimes, of course, if you guys can go for the kills, that's also great. But you really do not want to neglect trades as well. I feel like trading in Fortnite, at least in this current season, is really, really worth it, because there is quite a lot of mobility, right? You know, the chances of someone getting away more often than not are going to be quite common. Alright, see if we can blow him up as well whilst he's in the middle of the ocean. Oh, we're out of ammo. Oh, no. Okay, well, look, it could have been so much better. It could have been so much... it could always be worse. You know, I think when you're in these sort of moments like this, you got to remind yourself it could always indeed be worse. Well, we do need some ammunition, and I feel like one of the other great ways, of course, to get this ammo is just by getting kills. It has been a quieter game, which, I mean, look, for the most part is fine, but I definitely feel like a lot of these players in the lobby are very, very sweaty. Look, we've got 7 players left, and we've got a huge, absolutely huge zone for 7 players, which is good to see. You know, but it does, of course, mean that we're going to be a little bit at a disadvantage here, at least until we can find some shields. So we'll head on over, we'll try and make our way. I would like a fuel station, maybe a fuel pump. Doesn't seem like we're going to get one. So maybe we could try and make our way over to that the dreamy domain there. Which of course we did at the start of the episode. We sort of foreshadowed it there, didn't we? In terms of slowly making our way there. Hopefully we don't. Yeah, we did. It's going to say, hopefully we don't just fall out on top of the other side there. But sometimes it happens, and I feel like just trying to be mindful about these bridges especially is going to be key. We just need a little bit of ammunition. Not much, but definitely a little bit. And this could definitely have gone better, I think, for us. All in all, I'd have to say that the Bugswatter's beach is not my favorite sort of drop strategy. I feel like it's a very weak area to land at, and I feel like it really shows, like, okay, maybe there are better places to go, right? It really shows and highlights that just because a POI is new doesn't mean it's always going to be filled with this loot. I mean, it's a little bit disappointing, but, you know, you can't really do much about it. I'm hoping we can find maybe some people who died here, maybe some loot as well would be really, really nice. Another opportunity we will have is if we third party some of these other players. I think third partying is going to be a great way to go about it as well. And then you can just pick up the ammo from those people. So there's always going to be a way to go about it. Going to have a bit more ammunition here now. There we go. Right, so now that we are stacked back up, right, to the brim, to the gills, we'll be able to hop into this car and maybe drift away, hopefully. Now, I would like some more shockwaves to sort of replenish our supplies there. But look, until then, you know, guys, make sure you guys do hit that like button and you hit that subscribe button if you've enjoyed this episode so far. It could always be worse, right? It could always be worse until it absolutely is, and then it's definitely worse. Let us see, we've got plenty of ammunition here. High ground to our left. A few different angles here we've got to be able to play off of, but I feel like our best bet will be to go down a little bit to this ridge line here. We'll use this rock as cover. I'm trying to scan out these high ground areas, these places where players will likely try to be. And I want to try and catch them off guard, trying to go for people down in that sort of valley there, so. Did see some footsteps. I'm going to be a little bit cautious here. Trying to be quiet, we do not want to walk. Trying to spot him out with that third party. He could be behind the rock. I'm going to see if there's a way I can walk up this rock as well. Just going to jump for it, just in case he is behind here. Oh, fuck her out! You got to be careful with these players, you know. I think you start to get a bit of a sixth sense at times with regards to where players will try to hide. Gosh. Alright, we don't get any of those hits, so what do, guys? We go back behind this cover, we reload. Right, immediately I'm checking up at the high ground. I'm trying to check at these areas of interest where players can take advantage of us. Right, so now we know that there's one over there, and we don't quite have the zone yet. I'm going to try and make a way over here. Grab a little bit of something. We do not want to have a lot of noise pollution. I would like to, of course, remove that chest. Bait out some shots. I'm assuming he's behind that rock, right? That's where my mind is sort of going. Overshield is down on both of us here. We're going to let that reset. Alright, we got to move because of that zone though. Alright, we'll just quickly go for the heal instead here. And then we're going to throw out a Tiger's teleporting mask over to the right. And we're going to run to the left. Immediately I'm going for this rock, or at least close to it. Got the low ground. I might go for the bridge instead here. Bridges are great forms of cover because you can't actually shoot through them. So these are what I like to call hard cover. Fantastic forms of cover here. We do have someone above us on the bridge. Wait for him to go down by this beach. Sort of the shoreline. Make sure he doesn't come up from behind us. Old mate's in the bush over there. He's shockwaving over. Now I want to take advantage of this third party. Immediately I run to the bush. I want cover. I want to play this carefully, right? He's about one hit left. Might be better to just shockwave that. Fair enough. Now he's going to be forced to fight old mate down there. We're going to crouch so we don't really give away any of that sound pollution. Gosh. Kind of crazy. I know that the white guy's weak, so I wouldn't mind going for... Ooh. I think he's going for something there, maybe some ammunition. Reload where possible. Grab that high ground. Alrighty. Guys, that's how it's done. If you did enjoy this episode, make sure you hit that like button, you hit that subscribe button, and as always, take care. Garnier.